Exclusive. Insider exposes all. BioWare lied about the layoffs. Why do you need an insider? I'm not sure at this point. I already called all of this that will happen, and I was right. This is simple cause and effect at this point. This is how it works. Imagine you're a company that gets your biggest cash influx roughly every 5 years, and you need this cash to stay afloat, to hire people, to pay people wages, and to do a lot of other things. Let's say that this company has 100 employees that you need to pay, and they do all kinds of work and whatnot. Now, let's say this company messed up and it did not exactly get enough cash in those 5 years when they made their big thing and they released it. Okay, they get a little bit less cash, but then they missed it again, and now they have way less cash. That is the situation that BioWare is in. And that means that they now have pretty much only one shot left, and then bad things are about to happen. And that is Dragon Age Veilguard in this situation. And if this misses, bad things are going to happen to their company because they're going to have to lay off people because they have no more money in the bank. No one is willing to give them money, and everything is bad. And that's exactly what happened. Even before Dragon Age Veilguard released on Steam, which was the point when I correctly called that this is going to be bad, even before that, already on the trailer, it was easy to tell that things are probably not gonna go well, because the reception of this return to form situation is not really good by the majority of the player base. But when Dragon Age Veilguard launched, it was even worse than expected. We are talking about a franchise that should easily sell 5 to 10 million copies on Steam when it launches. Easily. Because that is literally its history. And over a period of time, a couple of years, it would sell probably 12, 13, maybe 15 million copies. But that didn't happen. Dragon Age Veilguard struggled to get 1 million sales. And then they peaked at 1.5 million, and honestly, if in the next 5 years someone tells me, oh, Dragon Age Veilguard actually sell 2 million copies, I will be amazed. Okay? Because that seems even like a far-fetched goal at this point for a game this sloppy, this woke, and this bad. And obviously, when your break-even point most likely is somewhere in the range of a minimum 5 million copies sold to 7 million copies sold, if you're selling 1.5 billion copies, you don't have any money. And now, BioWare needs to obviously lay people off because there's nothing else that they can do. They cannot sustain whatever they are doing because they have no money. And most likely, Dragon Age Veilguard already was made with a substantial amount of lent money. AKA, they need to pay it back because it probably has a really big percent on the debt. So they're in a really bad situation, and obviously they can only lay people off. Anyone who did not expect this did not pay attention.
My BioWare insider has reached out to me once again and confirmed what I had predicted in my previous coverage and what many other people have suspected as well. And that is BioWare didn't just do a reorganization and shuffle people around, but they actually let people go. A lot of people.
First of all, a reorganization means that people are gonna be let go. Reorganizations in businesses very rarely don't entail people being let go. Arguably, there's no point in a reorganization if you're not actually letting people go.
Even though they didn't even acknowledge it in their blog post because they were afraid of YouTubers exposing it and talking about them because they didn't want people to say any bad things about BioWare. So they just screwed over their own employees by not even telling them up front and letting everyone know publicly what's actually happening. You know, transparency. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. And I had my insider reach out to me once again regarding what's going on behind the scenes at BioWare because holy crap, not just people are being let go in droves like they are doing a complete shuffle reorganization, But my insider also gave me some information to disperse to you guys about what they feel like is going to be happening to BioWare Edmonton and how the rumor of Edmonton potentially being shut down is still quite alive and well.
Now, I don't know anything about any studio shutdowns, but if you're wondering why does BioWare and all of the other big studios have like BioWare San Francisco, Edmonton, Brooklyn, New York, and all of these things, is pretty simple. Because they need more people to create more projects, and well, you are gonna hire people in the locations that you already have. But there is a certain pool of talent in every location. And sometimes when are out of talent in that location, when hiring practices become a little bit hard, you just tend to open a new studio in a different location, so you have a fresh pool of potential people that can work for you. And obviously, if a studio is tasked to doing, like, I don't know, any kind of job, like code a door to open, and that door wildly spazzes out when you press the button to open it instead of properly opening it, and it doesn't even close, well, then that studio is going to get terminated, probably. Especially if that was not their first time of fucking up something that simple. It's just basic life.
Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out smashjt.com for the full article breaking down how BioWare is in complete damage control mode right now. Everything seems to be falling apart, and they're doing their best impression of sticking their head in the sand and hoping that nobody notices that they have lied by omission. BioWare ripped a page out of the modern journalism playbook and was not being entirely truthful with their customers about the state of their workforce. While the company skirts around the words and remains silent on mentioning anything to do with layoffs, now former employees have taken to Blue Sky to express their frustrations, ironically inadvertently exposing BioWare's
Oh god, Blue Skies.
attempt to downplay the situation and mentioning how BioWare themselves were more concerned about public perception and YouTubers making videos on it than actually informing their own employees about what's actually transpiring, which is wild to me. It's like, guys, take care of your business. Do not worry about YouTubers covering the situation. Handle.
Well, to be fair, by the way, worrying about YouTubers covering the situation is more important than the employees. It's a business, not a daycare center, okay? All of the people who are gonna get fired are replaceable and literally considered garbage. And by the way, since they made Dragon Age Veilguard, they are garbage. I know it's a little bit harsh to say that, but it's the truth. All of the people who work at BioWare are talentless losers. And they don't deserve anything. And the company is always going to fire them first, obviously. And worry about the big things, like perception. Because that is all tied to stock prices.
Your stuff and be honest about what's happening. I also spoke to my insider discussing more information about what's going on behind the scenes over at BioWare, but before I even get to that stuff and the exclusive info they gave.
Oh, by the way, one thing that is gonna unravel here, maybe in this video, but if not, it's gonna definitely unravel in the upcoming probably months or years. We're gonna get information about this because, again, this is just one of those unavoidable things that I'm going to predict, is Mass Effect 5, okay? All the people who made the Dragon Age Veilguard are now working in Mass Effect 5. This is not exactly true. I waited a very long time, by the way, to say this. I have been until this point just saying, oh, they're working at the Mass Effect 5 now, which is true to an extent. They're gonna keep the people who have done the best job, which in BioWare's case is still probably subpar, honestly, to keep working at Mass Effect 5. But they are gonna replace the heads. They're gonna try their best to swipe the Dragon Age Veilguard associations of people making it away from Mass Effect 5 as much as possible. Now, does this mean that Mass Effect 5 is not gonna be woke? No shot. It's gonna be woke as fuck. No way to avoid that. But they are gonna try and get rid of the negative PR perspective that Dragon Age Veilguard has. They're gonna keep as many employees as possible from Dragon Age Veilguard on Mass Effect 5. But they are gonna pretend that a lot of people at the end of the day did not actually go to Mass Effect 5 at this point. Even though that's gonna be a lie when you compare the people working on Dragon Age Railgun to people working at Mass Effect 5 and VCAN. But they're gonna try and pretend that, oh, actually a lot of the people who worked on Dragon Age are not working at on Mass Effect 5, which is gonna be a lie. But this is a prediction for, well, either the upcoming 3, 5, 6 months or the upcoming, I don't know, 2, 3 years when when people start talking about Mass Effect 5.
Me. For full context, we need to take a look at those who have been affected by the layoffs, because all I can say from these responses on Blue Sky is yikes, it's not a great look. From the blog post specifically, Gary McKay, the general manager of Bioware, stated, "We have incredible talent here at Bioware, and so we have worked diligently over the past few months to match many of our colleagues with other teams at EA that had open roles that were a strong fit." And looking at that, it sounds all well and good, but all that jargon dances around what really happened to those that weren't matched to the other teams at EA, and the fallout from it hasn't been pretty. Specifically,
there is no matching, by the way. This is a lie. EA is obviously after their stock plummeted because they no longer own FIFA. And FIFA and all the sports brands are pretty much EA's bread and butter. Without that, they're in serious shit. And now Mass Effect, the only actual big game that EA kind of was representing in a long time, turns out to be completely atrocious. Yeah, it's just a lie. Most of these people let go, the super majority of them, were never even considered to move to EA. Because why would you want that? Why would you want these losers to go to EA now?
most, if not all, of the writers and editors have been completely slashed. Anne LeMay on Blue Sky kicked it off by sharing her experience. And she said, "I was a writer at BioWare for 5 years, 2011."
The coders probably didn't get slashed, but the writers, hell yeah, they got slashed. They are the major problem. Like, look at this avatar. Doesn't this tell you all you need to know about this person? Again, we are living in 2025. Always judge a book by its cover. Never, never do anything other. The cover is always right. And the one time out of 100 the cover is not gonna be right, it's not gonna matter.
11 to 2016. I leaned a lot during that time from exceptional folks with an X in many disciplines, but also specifically from my fellow writers and our amazing editors on both the Mass Effect and Dragon Age brands. Today, not a single one of those writers and editors remains employed there. And while it can be unfortunate to see people lose a job anywhere, here's the situation with
these people deserve it. Have no pity for them because they would never have pity for you. They want to twist the dagger when it's inside your back, while you want to help them. Don't be a fool. These people hate you. These people hate everything you stand for. They are gonna demand that you help them while secretly plotting to destroy you. Never show weakness.
These people working at the game company, you can only break your heart so much before you look at the reality and say, maybe you weren't great at it. And that might be why the company's in the predicament that they're facing right now, if we want to start taking any accountability. I can't help but chuckle at the irony in her post specifically. A professional writer of 5 years at BioWare making multiple grammatical errors while simultaneously lamenting her own employment loss, leaned instead of learned, was just the icing on the cake. Folks, it's times like this where I take Asmongold's stance on the loss of employment in the games industry. And paraphrasing what he said, "Too bad, so sad, you aren't good enough. The customers responded by not purchasing your slop, and now the consequences are you're out of a job." I don't feel bad for people like this because, believe me, If the same were to befall YouTubers covering situations, we all know they'd be the first ones dancing on our graves.
Yep.
And we've seen it before plenty of times in the past, so it is what it is. Unfortunately, this is what happens when you don't do your job properly. And we have Jen Chevery saying, after almost 14
Fortunately, this is what happens when you don't do your job properly. At least there's some accountability.
years at Bioware, I am devastated to learn today that myself and others must seek new opportunities. I am so grateful for all the learning, challenges, and most importantly, the team. I will remember my time here with joy. Tomorrow, we'll move forward. For today, I will just be sad. And it continues.
You know what's the crazy thing about this? These big goodbyes are actually historically supposed to be done by the top brass, the CEOs, the department heads, these kinds of people. But these people who are being let go are none of them. They're just rank and file pencil pusher losers. And they're like, oh my god, good luck everyone. What the hell is this? What? It's really daycare at this.
Be sad. And it continues with Ryan Cormier saying, so my time at Bioware has ended. It was a wild ride with some fantastic people, but it's time to look for new challenges. I'm an editor, writer with 26 plus years of experience across video games, novels, short stories, newspapers, and marketing communications. If you know a good...
Well, sounds like this guy has tried a lot and failed even more than he has tried. Wow.
...fit, please let me know. And then we move on to Karen West Weeks, who says, hello, I'm looking for work, ideally in an editor role. It's been an honor to work with so many talented professionals and a pleasure to meet so many amazing community members in my 19 years at Bioware.
You know what's funny? All of these people say, oh, it was such a great thing working with all these talented people at BioWare. Talented? I'm sorry. Where's the talent? How did all these magical, talented unicorn people not make a game worth shit? Seems like there was no talent. Seems like you're just a liar.
I'm so grateful to all of you. And followed up by Trick Weeks, who says, I'm now looking for a new writing narrative position. It's been a privilege to work with so many amazing devs over my 20 years at BioWare, and I will cherish the memories of the wonderful folks in the community I've met along the way. Thank you all. And
you know what this situation honestly looks like? It looks like all of these people were in BioWare for a long time, and they were like junior roles when they started. And then they had the actual opportunity and privilege to work with people who, knew how to make interesting, innovative stories and do all of these things. And then, as time passed, the good people... Listen, the good people don't stay at a single job for 20 fucking years. Okay? Anyone who has stayed in a single workplace for 20 years and is not a CEO, I honestly am not gonna lie, you're probably shit at your job. That's my automatic assumption, and usually it checks out. Harsh, but reality. And all these people just got promoted because they have been in those places for 20 years. They have been in BioWare for 20 years, and they have worked under the people who actually made good games once in a while. And then they get promoted, and now they are the big cheeses. But the problem is, they're effectively Nepo babies. They have no real skill, but they just stayed a long time at the company and worked under the people who actually made good stuff. And now it's their time to shine, and guess what? There's nothing to shine about.
And looking through all of these, most of them have over 5 years experience, but the vast majority are like 15, 19, 20 plus years experience. And it's like, holy crap, these people have been at this company for so long, it makes you wonder, were they the ultimate downfall of all these past 4+ games that were not successful from BioWare?
Exactly.
These first-hand accounts paint a very different picture from the one BioWare tried to push forward with their studio update blog post from the other day. This isn't just a minor shakeup. This is a full-on gutting of their experienced writers and editorial staff, and potentially far reaching beyond that as well. The lack of transparency is extreme, and it was something I called out in my previous coverage of the situation. How can they seemingly sidestep any mention of layoffs? The math just wasn't adding up whatsoever. It was a PR puff piece trying desperately to save face, but at the end of the day, the only thing being saved was the pie to be thrown on their face when the truth comes out. And here we are. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I start seeing a lot of different people being let go at the same time from an organization, and all of those people have a tremendous amount of experience, you start to look into the history of what they've worked on in the past, the games that have come out, the things that they've done, and the monumental failure after monumental failure. And you wonder how they've stayed on board for as long as they had. I feel like there's a lot of questions to be asked in that specifically. Who was enabling it? Who was encouraging it? Who was promoting these people? Why were they staying on board, losing hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars while they were forcing ideologies down the gamers' throats, where gamers wanted nothing to do with it for the better part of the past decade? And finally, BioWare seems to be having an about face and realizing the error of their ways. Now, with all that out of the way...
Now, to be honest, you know what's the best part about this? Nothing currently is telling me about any of this. Now, granted, I don't know all the details. I kind of don't care any longer. But what have they learned from this? None of these layoffs, none of these anythings, honestly, are currently telling me that they have learned anything. Because you need to understand, these layoffs are following a very simple pattern of, well, people are saying the story was shit. We don't know why the story was shit, but I guess we'll fire the writer. Yeah, that's how this stuff happens. That's how this stuff works. They potentially have not learned anything. They're just doing the obvious choices of, well, everyone's complaining about X, get rid of X.
Let's go to what my insider actually had to say about this, because holy crap, this is going to blow your mind. The team on the current project is expected to be fewer than 72 members for the time being, until production begins. Only the core team members are being retained to refine the pitch and ensure the mistakes from past projects are not repeated. The situation is critical.
Oh, so by core members, they mean here from the 72 existing. And by the way, if you ask me from a business management standpoint, 72 is too much for a new project. Because currently, let me explain what this means. You have literally 72 people just talking about what's the next game gonna be. There is no making anything. There is no nothing. There's just 72 people 72 people talking about what Mass Effect 5 could or maybe should be like. That's insane.
Members are being retained to refine the pitch and ensure the mistakes from past projects are not repeated. The situation is critical for the studio's future. So even my insider is trying to paint a picture of, it's a very dire circumstance that they are doing everything they can to take the buckets and throw the water outside of the boat so that it can stay afloat right now. And so far, it's not looking great. The concept of becoming more quote-unquote agile likely involves rotating team members in and out based on project needs. Additionally, it would not be surprising if by agile they meant that the Edmonton site is expected to close and remaining staff will be working off-site. This will help reduce costs while keeping the operations going. So, opposed to what Jeff Grubb was trying to say after he stole the story.
Yeah, this is so bullshit, by the way. Listen, working off-site is almost bad for any industry. That's the reality, okay? People working off-site are less productive, and that's just the reality of it, okay? Sure, there are some people watching this who have worked off-site and, from afar, and they're like, no, I did fine. I did actually better. True, yes. But that means you were not the most important employee. Maybe your job was actually easy, who honestly knows. But the reality is, it is 100% proven that working off-site is stupid. It is a giant negative for companies because productivity just bam, it doesn't exist any longer.
Story of me and Grum's talking about this of, oh no, he's not hearing anything about the Edmonton studio shutting down. No, those rumors are false. My insider is repeating that rumor once again right now and saying that this is going to be something that potentially could happen as soon as February 2025 at some point, all the way to whenever the town hall ends with EA and when they actually have that.
Oh, okay, so let me explain what's actually happening here. Okay, so if they have some kind of thing with EA, I don't know how much EA actually owns BioWare to a certain degree, to be honest. Looks like a lot considering BioWare can affect EA stock performance and shit. But anyway, so this is just a consequence if they don't get the funding, if they don't get the money, if it's deemed not worth it. Then the studio will shut down. But if they decided, hey, no, this we still need the studio for whatever fucking reason to be active, they're gonna keep it like that. That's it. So it's gonna only be decided later what happens to it, but currently it's currently very clear to say that if anything gets cut down, it's gonna be this thing first, potentially not the only thing, but first to go. In any case, don't care too much about the insiders. That was Smash JD. 10 out of 10. Bye bye.